Part 37. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 362. Lu Feng looked at the phone with a gloomy expression on his face. The contract had already been signed. Although there was no payment, it would be troublesome to get involved in a lawsuit. With Zhang Xiaoyan's character, he would be flustered and not knowing what to do at that time. If she does it herself, she will feel that she is not good enough, that she has done something wrong, and she will be even more timid at that time. If she continues like this, within half a month, 2 million will have to be lost. The point is, she won't learn anything at all, and will only make these people deceive and find Bei. The clock on the wall was ticking, and the time had already pointed to 11 o'clock in the evening. Lu Feng felt that he still couldn't make a move directly, so he should find someone to come over. Call Zhang Fengxia. Hey, Sister Xiaoyan, what's the matter? Zhang Fengxia on the other end of the phone said with a bit of intimacy, is the factory not going well? Don't listen to Lu Feng, he knows business. Lu Feng's voice did not fluctuate, I'm Lu Feng. Ah, Zhang Fengxia on the other end of the phone was obviously startled, and she said in a panic, Lu, President Lu? Why haven't you slept yet? What is Sister Xiaoyan's number? I'm her man. I'm at my house. Call me from my home phone. What's the problem? No, I'm used to her using this number to chat with me. Zhang Fengxia smiled and said, aren't you going to sleep so late? Do you often scold me with her? No, really, you are so powerful, how can I scold you? I'm just complimenting you. Recently everything is normal in the factory, although the terminal sales have dropped a little, but it is more stable, and Mr. Zhu is also deploying in other provinces. The market is still in Guangzhou these days. Zhang Fengxia tried her best to talk about work. That's right, there is a problem here at the factory. Do you have any clever people under your command? Send them over to work with you for a few days, mainly because there are some things, and it's inconvenient for me to come forward. Lu Feng briefly explained the matter. When Zhang Fengxia heard his concerns, she instantly understood that he needed a pair of dexterous hands to do things, and he had to make Zhang Xiaoyan feel that she was in control of everything. This is a good opportunity for the people below to contact Lu Feng. You must know that in such a large company, the people who can contact Lu Feng are very senior. If a middle-level manager stayed with Lu Feng for a while, he might be promoted by Lu Feng, especially after he came back. There will definitely be a revamp of the interior. This candidate is not just a random choice. Whoever you choose is to help someone. There has always been competition between Zhang Fengxia and Zhu Lidong, and there is also a problem of standing in the company. Lu Feng is very clear about these things. Big companies cannot avoid it. If the departments below want to improve, they have to talk to a boss to express their opinions on some things. He is not too worried. As long as the entropy reduction law of the last elimination is strictly followed, the major departments of the company will not form a group, crowd out the outstanding talents, and leave the flattering garbage behind. I have a few candidates. Let's see what tasks they have tomorrow. When are you coming? It is estimated that it will take more than a month, and the factory has not yet produced. Lu Feng sighed, feeling a little disturbed, and he really needed someone who understood his thoughts. This person, Zhang Fengxia, was the perfect fit. The two chatted and made porridge on the phone. It was already past 11 o'clock in the evening. Qian Nana didn't go back. Instead, she went to the factory and held a meeting overnight. The simple office was brightly lit, with a few broken desks and chairs. There were 7 management staff, and some people were smoking. The house is filled with smoke, and the doors and windows are open. What's the matter? The person in charge of finance asked. Sister Qian, how long will we be able to work this time? I always feel that those couples are not very reliable. The person in charge of personnel muttered. When will it be produced? Don't run away without paying wages. I just said that the small factory is unreliable. The one I worked at a while ago didn't pay wages for 2 months. It was a nice thing to say, but it didn't run away, and now I can't find anyone. Be quiet. Nana patted the table with her hand, looked around and said, this time, it won't last long. Let me tell you, these two people don't know anything at all. Today, let that Mr. Zhao fool around. 2 tons of wax oil. How much? 2 tons. Everyone present was shocked. Isn't this kind of thing bought in several boxes and several boxes? My dear, it must be 2 tons. You can also see that the east is a hammer, the west is a stick, and people outside will kill her. I think so. Let's work for a month, get some oil and water and leave, the old way, find a few clever people, let's chat with the workers, make some fake wages, and make external purchases. If there is a kickback, take the kickback. In her situation, this factory has only been trading for a few months, understand? The people present nodded, earn a little here, and continue to look for jobs. Small factories are like this, and it is difficult to work for a long time. The next day, at the morning meeting of GFN Electronics, Zhang Fengxia ordered some things and closed the folder in front of her. She stood up and looked at a man in his 30s. Vice President Tan, come to my office in a while. Okay, Mr. Zhang. A few minutes later, when Zhang Fengxia lowered her head and was busy with her work, there was a knock on the office door. Come in, Zhang Fengxia said without raising her head. Vice President Tan walked in, and it was obvious that he was a little cautious. He stood in front of the desk and said, Mr. Zhang, are you looking for me? Sit down. How long have you been at the company? Although Vice President Tan sat down, he did sit vacantly and looked very scared. When asked such a question, he was also taken aback and said, I came in just after production in March, and I applied for maintenance technology at that time. Director of the department, and was later referred to the Commerce Department as the person in charge of external business contacts. I've done a good job, I'm very capable, I can do it well anywhere. What are your plans for the future? Zhang Fengxia raised her head and said with a little satisfaction. I think I can do a variety of jobs and try more. I think I should exercise more and have the opportunity to go to the marketing department and get in touch with the front end of the market, such as advertising, marketing, and planning. Yes, train yourself. Go to the marketing department. Zhang Fengxia's face faded a lot. She nodded and said, yes, work hard, go out and call Wei Yandan for me. Vice President Tan didn't know what he said wrong. Didn't you hear what I said? Go to the Vice President of the Administration Department, Wei Yandan will call over. Zhang Fengxia stared at him and said solemnly. Oh, Vice President Tan stood up and still couldn't understand what he said wrong. He turned around and said, President Zhang, I can do any job, and I can learn. Okay, I know. After leaving the office, Vice President Tan sighed, feeling that he had missed an opportunity, and went to administration in a dejected manner. A few minutes later, a tall woman in her 30s knocked on the door, with high heels on her feet, big wavy hair permed, and a relatively broad face, but it gave people an indescribable confidence, not good looking, but has the performance of a strong woman in the workplace. Come in. Mr. Zhang, are you looking for me? Sit down, Zhang Fengxia asked, you've done a good job recently. Your side is mainly doing some small work, but it is the most important thing. When I transferred you, I feel that you are a careful person. How long have you been in the company? Is it time? Tomorrow will be 4 months, but I have already changed 2 positions. The atmosphere of the company is very good. To be honest, I don't feel uncomfortable, but I am very involved. Administrative management is a matter of dealing with people. I'm also good at this, mainly because Zhang Zhonghui has an eye for pearls. What are your plans for the future? Or which department do you expect to go to? Mr. Zhang, I'll go wherever you think you need me. No matter where I go, I think I can do my best, Wei Yandan said sincerely. I will definitely not disappoint President Zhang's expectations. Don't say that, I also consider the company. Do you want to move? Zhang Fengxia looked up at her and asked. To tell the truth, I think that the internal management of the company can be so harmonious and the corporate culture is so pleasant. The main credit is yours. I have gone through many companies. Some bosses don't look at 50 or 60 years old, they are really messed up. Mr. Zhang, where should I be, where should I go? Wei Yandan said with a smile. I just did some ordinary work, mainly because President Liu was in control of the overall situation. Zhang Fengxia put a smile on her face, leaned back on the chair, and thought for a moment. There is an opportunity in front of you. I must live up to my trust. I have been studying hard for so many years, and I am waiting for an opportunity. Wei Yandan's face showed a touch of excitement, but he was still very restrained. That's right, there is a lack of people on Mr. Liu's side. It's a private job. Zhang Fengxia briefly explained the situation. Wei Yandan has worked in a state-owned enterprise, so she understands the meaning of the word private work. This is an excellent opportunity to get close to the boss. This kind of opportunity, if done well, is really skyrocketing. Don't worry, I will definitely do a good job. Of course, in front of President Liu, I appear to be incompetent. Then you can hand over the work at hand, book a ticket for noon, pack your things, and I will tell President Liu. Zhang Fengxia stood up and walked over to Wei Yandan and patted her on the shoulder, saying, the company focuses on training. Talent, your ability, I have been paying attention to it, gold will always shine. Thank you Mr. Zhang for your love, I will definitely live up to my expectations, and I will go through fire and water in the future. Go. Wei Yandan said a few more polite words, expressed her loyalty, and walked out of the door with her fists clenched in excitement. After so many years, it was finally her turn to play. Zhang Fengxia leaned on the desk and thought for a while. This person is indeed very good, with outstanding abilities in all aspects, and also has a big picture. She probably would not have thought that this Wei Yandan would take her place in a few years, and she would never have thought that her departure would bring a lot of shock to GFN Electronics. Of course, these are all later stories. Lu Feng received the call, determined when someone was coming, hung up the phone, and shouted upstairs, wife, it's time to eat. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 363. Zhang Xiaoyan walked down with disheveled hair, scratching her head with her hands, her face still pale with a hangover, and she muttered, what time is it? It's almost 8 in the morning. It's almost 8 o'clock. Zhang Xiaoyan was startled, as if waking up from a big dream, and hurriedly said, I'll cook for you. It's all done, come and eat, don't you have a headache? Lu Feng stepped forward and took her hand and asked with concern. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at a table of breakfast, sat down and said, my head doesn't hurt, I just can't remember how I got back yesterday. Don't you know, the atmosphere was really good yesterday. Zhao always really persuades you to drink, I always drink. Seeing her like this, Lu Feng laughed. The wine bureau was most afraid of meeting someone as stupid as her. It must be the first time he drank a video. He said, I will say I won't drink when I go out. It's all women. If there is a man, I won't drink with them. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at Lu Feng and asked cautiously, I'm not drunk. No, she's very well behaved. Lu Feng gave her a bowl of porridge and put it in front of her and said, the company has some things to deal with, so I sent a vice president over there. There are not many things, and her daily salary is not high. Little, it's a waste to do such a thing, I just want to send her to your factory, do you think? People are also very tired. I heard Feng Xia say that each of your employees is more tired than each other. It's hard to find a space to rest. Let them rest. Lu Feng. Lu Feng could see that she felt sorry for everyone, even a vice president who had never met before was worried about whether they were tired or not. She earns more. Her salary is twice that of the vice presidents of other companies. That's it? Let her be the vice president. Lu Feng kissed her on the cheek and said, President Zhang has nothing in his heart. Pimple, it's not that you are arrogant, and it's not the person who arranged me. Oh, I smell like alcohol all over me. You have the final say and say something out of the ordinary. Zhang Xiaoyan raised her head and glanced at the time, and found that it was already 8 o'clock in the morning. The factory is in a hurry, trying to produce a batch today. Halfway through the conversation, people have already run upstairs. Lu Feng was sitting there eating, but he was sneering in his heart. Even cats and dogs like Qian Nana and Zhao Yan Ran dared to play big swords in front of him. If he wanted to play, he would play with them. 10 minutes later, Zhang Xiaoyan left in a hurry. She was more fulfilled. It seems that he has found his own independence. As soon as she arrived at the factory, Qian Nana told Zhang Xiaoyan to have a meeting. Before discussing some issues, a lot of receipts for reimbursement to be signed were placed in front of her eyes. The various expenses in the factory ranged from electricity bills, water bills, desks, chairs, benches, office supplies, machine maintenance, etc. Zhang Xiaoyan didn't understand it very well, so she just signed it. Can we produce today? Zhang Xiaoyan asked after signing. It's not very good in the morning. The assembly line is being debugged, and there are still some raw materials missing. It is the lipsticks that were ordered yesterday. There is no problem with the production in the afternoon. After a few trucks, the first truck of wax oil will come. Zhang Xiaoyan frowned as she listened to the various feedbacks. The people below didn't deal with the problem at all. Instead, it was transferred layer by layer. 3 screws were missing on the assembly line. This kind of problem was placed in front of her, a woman. In the morning, Zhang Xiaoyan was as busy as a top, doing everything by herself. After 1 o'clock at noon, Lu Feng drove to the airport, held up the sign in her hand, and a tall woman in her 30s walked towards Lu Feng with a suitcase. Hello, President Lu asked you to pick me up. I'm Wei Yandan, Wei Yandan said. Lu Feng glanced at her and said, I am Lu Feng. Hello, Mr. Lu, I didn't expect you to pick me up in person. I've never seen you before. I heard from other bosses that you are young, but I didn't expect you to be so young. Wei Yandan hurriedly held Lu Feng's hand and said politely. You're in charge of administration, aren't you? Yes, now the vice president of administration. I heard President Zhang mention you, saying that you have a big picture in your work, so I will trouble you this time. Lu Feng said politely. No, it should be. Get in the car, let's not eat, let's eat a bite. I happened to talk to you about this. Lu Feng walked towards the parking lot. In a restaurant in the city center, Lu Feng asked for a private room and ordered 4 or 5 dishes. Wei Yandan looked very cautious sitting across from her. It was fake that she was not nervous, and Lu Feng's reputation in the company was still very bluffing. Regardless of how easy it is to talk to high-level executives like Zhu Lidong and Zhang Fengxia, the people below will feel terrified when they see him. If he is really angry, Zhang Fengxia and Zhu Lidong will also be trembling. This is a means of management. Don't be nervous, relax, this is not in the company, just treat me as a friend, it's like this. At 2:30 in the afternoon, things were almost the same. Wei Yandan also understood the reason. She really didn't know much about the affairs between such small factories, and she was a little worried. Mr. Lu, I have never stayed in a small factory, is also the first time to deal with this kind of thing. You don't have to deal with it, you just need to listen to me. Lu Feng looked at her and said, you live next door to my house. I'll take you to put down your things first, and then go to the factory. Wei Yandan really didn't ask too much for a place to live, she could just find a small hotel to live in, but when she stood in front of a big villa and learned that the villa was for her to live alone, she was still shocked by Lu Feng's generosity. The villa next door was given to Jin Ting, and she didn't come to live there. Lu Feng always had the key and let her live here temporarily. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when I arrived at the factory, the sound of the machine was transmitted, and it seemed that it was running. I went to the office first, but I couldn't find anyone. I only found out that it was in the workshop after asking. When he arrived at the workshop, Lu Feng saw the workers were busy sitting in their seats. Zhang Xiaoyan rolled up his sleeves and watched. His hands were still stained with black oil, and his hair was messed up. He looked like a maintenance worker. "What are you doing here?" Lu Feng stepped forward and looked at her like this, and asked very distressedly, "Why is there still black oil on your hands?" "Production has started. The color of this lipstick is really nice. You can try it on." Zhang Xiaoyan touched the bright lipstick on her lips. She was so excited that she picked up one and wanted to apply it to Lu Feng. I asked, "How did you do it like this?" "Just to help repair the assembly line, let's help," Zhang Xiaoyan said indifferently. "It's your turn to repair the machine." Lu Feng's heart was already surging. He looked around and asked, "Where is Qian Nana?" "She has meetings in the office and is busy with the layout of the market." "Let's go." Lu Feng grabbed her hand and walked towards the conference room with a gloomy expression. Wei Yandan, who was following behind him, also smacked his tongue secretly. The reason for having a meeting in the office is not to bully people. When Lu Feng arrived at the door of the conference room, he kicked open the dark red wooden door. Several people in the meeting were startled and looked towards the door. "Mr. Qian, it's not appropriate for you to have a meeting here and let my wife go to the workshop to repair the machine." Lu Feng glared at Qian Nana. "I stopped too, but she said that she wanted to save some money and find a few more maintenance technicians, which would cost dozens of dollars more." Qian Nana stood up and said nothing. "You really save money. Why didn't you stop you when you bought 2 tons of wax oil? You saved dozens of dollars in maintenance costs, but you stopped them instead," Lu Feng reprimanded. "She's the boss, but I'm not. Why are you yelling at me? I'll be there at 7 in the morning, and I'm already busy these days, preparing for various things. You can't spend 10,000 yuan to invite me. Let me do you all." "Forget it, she is also very tired. It's not easy to get up early and stay up late." Zhang Xiaoyan hurriedly persuaded Lu Feng, "I'm not a delicate princess. I used to farm with my parents in the village." "You," Lu Feng looked at her and almost made himself angry. Qian Nana stood there as if she was greatly aggrieved, and choked, "Mr. Zhang, if you think I can't do it, let me go. These days are our fate, so I don't need to be paid, but these few days. Sky. I didn't tell you to leave, but you did a good job." Zhang Xiaoyan pulled Lu Feng out of the door and said, "Everything has started and everything is fine. What are you doing? This is my factory." Lu Feng stopped talking, sighed, and said, "I feel sorry for you, I'm excited. Didn't I tell you in the morning to put someone inside? I brought it here. This is Wei Yandan, the executive vice president of our company. Let her be the vice president here." Lu Feng introduced, "This is my wife, Zhang Xiaoyan. Hello, Mr. Zhang, you are so beautiful. A woman like me makes your eyes go straight." Wei Yandan held out her hand, and she shook hands with the black oil on Zhang Xiaoyan's hand. "Go in and talk to Qian Nana." Lu Feng looked at her and said, "You are the boss. Are you mad at me?" "No, how could it be? Zhang Xiaoyan is a good-natured person. She always wants everyone to be satisfied, and she always considers problems for others from the other side's point of view." She walked in with Wei Yandan and introduced Wei Yandan to Qian Nana. The two shook hands and said to take care of her, but both of them knew in their hearts that the other party was not a character to be messed with. Qian Nana is a dragon in a small factory, and Wei Yandan is a golden phoenix in a large enterprise. Lu Feng has his own standards for business management, especially the requirements of management. In the end, I can only go first. Zhang Xiaoyan can come as she is happy. Before leaving, she instructed about production safety issues, and don't cause people's lives due to irregular production. Zhang Xiaoyan and Wei Yandan didn't come back until after 7 o'clock in the evening. They were talking and laughing. It was obvious that Wei Yandan was very capable in interpersonal communication, at least at Zhang Xiaoyan's level. Sister Xiaoyan cried. After lunch, Lu Feng went to the villa next door, sat down and asked, "How is the situation?" High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 364. Wei Yandan sat down and seemed preoccupied, organized her words and said, "Mr. Lu, the internal management of this factory is a mess. Basically Qian Nana alone has the final say, and I found that all the people in the departments are her people, especially finance is so important. I went to finance for a walk in the afternoon, flipped through the ledger, and found that there were multiple reimbursements, there was no supervision system in each department, and President Zhang completely listened to President Jian. I know this. The lipstick is produced. According to the current expectations, can it be profitable? The cost is unknown. I think it should be 50% higher than the actual cost, or even higher. There are too many hidden costs, and these people's work attitudes are also problematic. That is, when a monk hits the clock all day, he is completely fooling people. I don't ask how much money I make, as long as I don't lose too much, I can accept it. This group of people will definitely be replaced. You try to get some key financial accounts in the past 2 days. It's a proof, and you have to guide Zhang. Always do some management governance. Lu Feng looked at her and asked, "Can it be done?" Wei Yandan smacked her mouth. This was difficult. She pondered for a while and said, "I can't guarantee it, I can only say my best." "Okay, I'm on the road again today, and I'm going to the factory again. You're also tired. Rest early." Lu Feng stood up and said, "It's hard work. Everything should be done, Mr. Lu should rest early." After Lu Feng left the villa, he didn't hold out much hope for Wei Yandan to guide Zhang Xiaoyan to manage the factory, because it was too difficult, and he might not be able to do it. Back at home, Zhang Xiaoyan had finished washing up and was sitting on the sofa, with a lot of reports in front of her, and she read it endlessly. How much was produced? Lu Feng sat down and asked. 3,000 pieces, it's not easy to sell. Today, Mr. Qian told me that he talked about a few companies, but his attitude was not very positive. She said to me, "Should I set up a counter to sell it myself?" Zhang Xiaoyan said worriedly. "Don't, the counters in the cosmetics city are not cheap, and there are too many counters. There are no channels. If you run the list yourself, you will break your legs." Lu Feng thought for a while and said, "You can give those wholesalers some sweetness first. You can lose some points and open the sales first, such as supply first, and then check out." Zhang Xiaoyan nodded thoughtfully, thinking this was a solution. Lu Feng provided ideas on the side, and told her that to find more people, the heads of each department must have deputy positions. The existence of deputy positions is to be able to get rid of the main position at any time, not to be blackmailed by the main position. It was already past 10 o'clock in the evening, and the waiters in the hotel were about to get off work. Zhao Yanran and Qian Nana were still chatting. "She can't find a market, how can she sell it so well? Let me tell you, in the end, it's all overstocking," Qian Nana said with a determined look at Zhang Xiaoyan. "Today, that man of hers found another one. Man, it looks like a bit of a skill. Want to open you? Her man probably has this idea, but Zhang Xiaoyan is a good person, and she is distressed. Qian Nana's face showed a hint of softness, but it was covered up in the next moment. She has never seen a boss in these years. Money is easy to talk about, and losing money is another face. Well, I'll tell her tomorrow that I have a batch of orders recently, which can be transferred to her, so that she can produce more than 1 million goods, and then tell her that the order has been cancelled. Zhao Yanran narrowed. With a half smile, he said, you know, lipsticks need to be refrigerated. The weather is 30 degrees now, and I will charge her a refrigeration fee. Then what if she doesn't pay? Qian Nana worried. You are stupid. I will find a lawyer and send a formal notification letter directly to her factory. If it is not delivered within 30 days, I have the right to deal with this batch of goods in any form. Wan's goods. Zhao Yanran became happy. This method is brilliant. It's a regular game, and the bosses in the cosmetics industry know it. Otherwise, everyone is stupid, and they all take orders and deposits before production. Let me tell you, as long as you let her produce this batch of goods, I will definitely be able to eat it in the end. I'll eat it at the tattered price. Zhao Yanran leaned forward and probed her neck and whispered, I'll give you a 20% rebate. Qian Nana also had a smile on her face. This kind of stupid boss is really rare in 1,000 years. No one can get rich without windfall, and no horse can get fat. She knows this truth. If you do a good job, you will get rich in one wave, and she will be able to get a small factory by then. The next day, Zhang Xiaoyan listened to Lu Feng's words and asked Wei Yandan to be in charge of the management of the factory, while Qian Nana was in charge of the market. This change made Qian Nana quite alert. Verb, move. With Wei Yandan's participation in management, some internal rules and regulations began to be improved, and several simple departments began to restrain each other. Various documents, signatures, receipts for outgoing warehouses, and a person in charge for receiving goods were considered to be on the right track, and Wei Yandan was on the right track. I found an excuse to fire the person in charge of personnel and production, and replaced him with his own. In just 10 days, the earth-shaking changes have made Qian Nana secretly shocked when she sees this method. This woman is not simple. If both of them are the heads of the same department, Wei Yandan will let her play with one hand. Not only Qian Nana was shocked, but Lu Feng also began to notice Wei Yandan's ability. He thought about it when he had nothing to do, but he didn't remember that there was such a powerful number one woman in the business world. Thinking about it again, there are so many strong women, and there are only a few who are famous. It is impossible for him to know all of them. This person can focus on training in the future. Some gaps have been found in the market. According to Lu Feng's idea, the counters in the cosmetics city will be put on the shelves first, as long as they can be distributed, and they will be free to settle in. It will give enough profit to the sales side, and the sales volume will be booming. It's just that the distance to sell out 2 tons of wax oil is still 108,000 miles away. The more the factory ran smoothly, Zhang Xiaoyan began to relax. Qian Nana was not the only one around. She was kind-hearted, but not stupid. When someone gave a correct choice, she would still choose. The more chaotic it is, the easier it is for the management to have crooked thoughts. As she gets on the right track, Qian Nana's crooked thoughts are gradually put away. Zhao Yanran is still waiting for a wave, but she doesn't want to do it anymore. After 8 o'clock in the evening, Zhao Yanran called Qian Nana. How long has this been going on? Why haven't I done it yet? Didn't I tell you everything? There's no risk at all, it's all a contract she signed voluntarily, and she won't have any tricks by then. How can you be so timid? What? Zhao Yanran's voice was full of anger. Shuzi is not enough and conspiracy. Mr. Zhao, now the factory is running, My salary is very high, Zhang Xiaoyan is fine, I am afraid of that Wei Yandan, you don't know this woman, it seems that there is nothing she doesn't understand, I went to the finance department to check the account a few days ago, scared me to death. Qian Nana's voice was full of fear. Where did you invite an expert? It's so powerful. I've been in the business world for so many years, and I haven't seen any ghosts and snakes. I don't need you to do so much, so I'll help you mention it, and then I'll have a dinner party, and I'll take care of it. A duck that reaches its mouth can make it fly. Zhao Yanran couldn't negotiate at all, and just hung up the phone. With millions of dollars in revenue, she couldn't find anywhere with a lantern. She couldn't sleep at night without trying it. For the past half a month, Lu Feng has been cooking and delivering meals to Zhang Xiaoyan every day. Everyone in the factory is saying that he eats soft rice, and every day they say that his wife is amazing, and my wife, I adore you. According to the workshop ant's words, that man, President Zhang, is really the armpit of Husianer. After Zhang Xiaoyan finished the meeting, the factory still lost money in the past few days. It is estimated that the loss is about 400,000 to 500,000 yuan, but the overall situation is good, which is very good. Mr. Zhang, your office phone is ringing. A young girl stuck her head in and said. Who? What is Mr. Zhao? I want to invite you to dinner. I'll call in a while. Zhang Xiaoyan stood up and said. Mr. Zhao probably wants to tell you about the big order. She has been thinking about your good sister. Although the profit of that order is not too high, the volume is definitely large, Qian Nana said aside. What order? Wei Yandan raised her head and said, is anyone else offering money? I'll call and ask. Zhang Xiaoyan walked out of the conference room and walked towards her office. Lu Feng was walking on the beach, and the sea breeze in the evening was very refreshing. The sand under his feet was soft like a sponge. He bent down to pick up a few shells and threw them towards the sea. It's cool, Lu Feng shouted towards the sea, I want to eat soft rice. I want to live a life like this every day. After a while, someone on the sea shouted, I think so too. Lu Feng didn't expect that someone would respond, he muttered something ignorant and shameless, turned his head and walked towards home. Before it got dark, Lu Feng saw that Zhang Xiaoyan's car was parked in front of his house. He walked to the house and wondered, why is it so early today? Where have you gone? Zhang Xiaoyan looked at him and said, you've been having a good time these days. If I'm busy, Mr. Zhao will invite you to dinner tonight, saying that you have a big order for us. Big list? Zhao Yanran, Lu Feng frowned, feeling that something was not right. Yes, Sister Zhao is very kind to me and has always cared about me. She said that there is a large order of millions. She wants me to do it? I will go to dinner in the evening and discuss it. Zhang Xiaoyan is very convinced. Regardless of the size of the business, the wolf eats the meat. If you eat more, the other party will eat less and take the initiative to let you eat. There will be no one else in this world except your parents. If there are other people, it is designated as a pit. Lu Feng was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said, okay, Sister Zhao is so nice, I'll go with you. I came back to find you, just to let you see Sister Zhao. At that time, because of the recruitment of President Jian, the trouble was so stiff, it's better to resolve the enemy than to end it. Zhang Xiaoyan persuaded. Lu Feng smiled and thought to himself, damn it. Break her head off. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 365. In midsummer, the night comes very late. At 7:30 in the evening, the sun still lingers in the sky. The fountain is dancing under the guidance of music. There are many stone stools next to it. Girl, there are migrant workers with luggage on their backs with bewildered faces. Opposite the fountain is a large hotel called Weawang. There are several large woven bags on the stone bench beside the fountain. 7 or 8 men in their 30s are sitting or standing there, with dark skin and looking a little pitiful. Zhang Xiaoyan got out of the car, tidied up her skirts, and said to Lu Feng, "Those people seem to be from the countryside. I don't know how many people come to Shenzhen to work every day. What's so strange about this? Look at how pitiful they are. Whether or not they should be hired to work in the factory is also a way of life." "Stop it," Lu Feng grabbed her arm and said, "you can't be pitiful. If they can come to the big city to work hard, they are no longer pitiful. You can't see the real poor people. Let's go." In the private room on the 4th floor, Zhao Yanran had already arrived. Today, she did light makeup and was also wearing a long dress. The air conditioner in the private room was quite cool, and she sat there with a bit of dignified eyes. "Mr. Zhao, your distinguished guest is here," the waiter walked in and said. Zhao Yanran hurriedly stood up and put on a smiley face, and when she walked out of the private room, she happened to meet Lu Feng and his wife. She stepped forward, grabbed her hand, and said happily, "Mr. Zhang and President Lu are able to come here, it's really full of brilliance, hurry up. Come on, come in, don't you have a piece of money? President Qian and Vice President Wei will come after the meeting, and they will be there soon." Zhang Xiaoyan was very happy to see Zhao Yanran, and praised, "Sister Zhao is beautiful. I just put on makeup today, how can you look good? Just dress up and you'll look good. Last time I drank with me, I didn't make up. Today, when Lu Feng comes, you just dress up." "What do you want to do?" Zhang Xiaoyan joked. Zhao Yanran laughed and glanced at Lu Feng. She really had this in mind. Lu Feng had an indescribably attractive charm and was still young. She has a lot of contact with Zhang Xiaoyan. From the perspective of Zhang Xiaoyan's clothes and food costs, Zhao Yanran thinks that Zhang Xiaoyan is a rich girl, and Lu Feng is just a soft eater. Everything in the factory was handled by Zhang Xiaoyan, and Lu Feng was not allowed to interfere at all. Thinking of this, everything made sense. If Zhang Xiaoyan ran out of money, Lu Feng would leave naturally. She didn't mean to have a future with Lu Feng, but just wanted to play for a few days. After all, there weren't many men who could make her itch. The two sat down and chatted endlessly, from shoes to skirts to cosmetics. Lu Feng sat next to him and couldn't say a word, so he could only keep drinking tea. 10 minutes later, Qian Nana and Wei Yandan came in and started ordering food. They all said that there are 3 women in one show, let alone 4 women today. From ordering to serving, to eating, Lu Feng said thank you to the waiter. The jump in their topics made Lu Feng a little overwhelmed. He was still talking about yoga in front of him, and he started talking about gynecological diseases as soon as the conversation changed. Even Wei Yandan talked so vigorously, talking about some changes in his body, Lu Feng was a little embarrassed listening to it. The food was almost the same, and the medical communication was almost the same. Zhang Xiaoyan took the lead and asked, "Sister Zhao, what's the matter with the big order you said? If you don't ask, I almost forgot. It's like this, I have an old customer who orders a batch of lipsticks every year, and the amount is very large. I got an order last month, and I'm busy recently. I can't do anything about it." Zhao Yanran said with a face full of regret, "I made some money, but now I can't help it, so I want to ask you." "Really? Thank you so much, Sister Zhao." Zhang Xiaoyan was overjoyed, it was like a pie from the sky, and it just hit her on the head. "This customer is from overseas, and I also told him about your situation. This time I have caught it, and I need a batch of high-quality goods, but I have to tell you in advance that the profit is not high, at most your 15% profit margin," Zhao Yanran said. "It's okay, it's already pretty good, after all, it's a big order. When will we meet?" Zhang Xiaoyan said excitedly. "When other people are overseas, they used to call me. Because of the old customers, I'm afraid they won't be able to come back recently. I will give you the production standards tomorrow, and you will produce them first. Wei Yandan frowned, realizing that something was not right, and hurriedly said, Mr. Zhao, how can I sign a contract if others can't come back? You have to pay the deposit too. Where can you produce without a deposit, let alone such a large order? The deposit needs to be raised, and it has to be given 50% in order to produce. I know him quite well, and I didn't even ask for a deposit. When I first cooperated with him, I was afraid, but when I was short of orders, I did it as soon as I gritted my teeth. I didn't expect it to become an old customer. That's how business is, and what I need is sincerity. It's true, Zhao Yanran said eloquently. He didn't say that he didn't give a deposit, but it was an overseas account, and it was very troublesome to send money back to China. It doesn't matter, we can open an account in Xiangjiang, exchange funds from overseas, exchange Hong Kong dollars and transfer it to the account on the other side of Xiangjiang, and we can successfully process it in one day, Wei Yandan said. They're all old customers, and you've even made a trip to Xiangjiang? Not really. Besides, you need the identity information of the locals to open an account there, right? Zhao Yanran smiled stiffly. Wei Yandan felt that there was a problem with this order. Judging from the way she blocked it, there was a big problem, and it was incredible that she gave the big order to Zhang Xiaoyan just because it was too late to produce. The account over there is not very troublesome. You can find someone to open an account for 1,000 Hong Kong dollars. You don't even have to go there, just call and someone will open it. Lu Feng was sitting there drinking tea and listening to them all the time. Wei Yandan just thought there was something wrong with this order, but Lu Feng already understood what Zhao Yanran wanted to do. You know, Lu Feng has opened a canning workshop. The most important thing for a small business is the capital chain. If there is a problem with the capital chain, it will be sold at a low price. You have to sell it too. The most common case that overwhelms small and medium-sized enterprises is the backlog of goods. Lu Feng has heard of many such disgusting companies. They are looking for medium-sized companies to place orders and produce according to their own requirements. Press all assets to produce. After production, people come to ask for the design drawings or contracts, the goods are not needed, and the deposit is also not needed. Small and medium-sized enterprises have relatively few funds and are directly overwhelmed. Since the products are customized, no one else can take over and they can only sell them as scraps. At this time, a company will jump out and take over at a slightly higher price than the scraps. There are too many dirty tricks. Lu Feng has seen many business leaders of small and medium-sized enterprises being forced to entertain guests, even kneeling on the ground and kowtowing. Okay, you are all sisters, and the relationship is here, Lu Feng said. Since Sister Zhao said there is no problem, then it must be no problem, and it's very troublesome to go to Xiangjiang to open an account. Her feelings. Everyone present didn't expect Lu Feng to say this. His face was full of surprise. Wei Yandan stared at Lu Feng. She didn't believe that Lu Feng didn't see that this was a pit. Why did he let his wife jump into the pit? Zhao Yanran was also stunned. Lu Feng had already quarreled with her on the phone about the 2 tons of wax oil. Logically speaking, he should try his best to avoid any interaction with him, so how could he help himself? What's the talk? There was a brief blank at the dinner table. No one spoke for 7 or 8 seconds, and there was silence. Zhang Xiaoyan broke the situation. It doesn't seem appropriate to have no deposit, doesn't it? Zhang Xiaoyan also felt that this was a bit abrupt. She is kind-hearted and not a fool. What kind of deposit do you want? Lu Feng frowned and said to her, Sister Zhao's relationship, that's a tricky one. That's it. Waiter, bring 2 bottles of beer, let's do one. Lu Feng didn't give Zhang Xiaoyan a chance, and settled the matter directly. Wei Yandan saw that Lu Feng was so decisive, and knew in his heart that he had already made up his mind. but what she couldn't understand was how Lu Feng planned to fill such a hole. Open the beer, 1 cup per person, everyone touched the glass and drank it, and the scene became lively again, but everyone had their own thoughts. After eating, Zhao Yanran sent the 3 of Lu Feng downstairs, and Lu Feng drove away. Qian Nana stood by and said, "This is too simple, isn't it?" "Sister Zhao, you took Lu Feng quietly." "Ah," Zhao Yanran squeezed out a smile, "just let her go back to rest early." Saying goodbye to Qian Nana, Zhao Yanran murmured in her heart, could it be that Lu Feng was really interested in him? Impossible. Let's not say how beautiful Zhang Xiaoyan is, and she is younger than herself. Is it possible that today's little boys like heavy taste? She thought about it and thought that she might be lucky this year. The fortune teller said that she had partial wealth this year. Isn't this partial wealth? On the way back, Zhang Xiaoyan was a little unhappy sitting in the co-pilot. Her cheeks were bulging, she looked very cute. Lu Feng turned his head to look at her, stretched out his finger and poked her in the face and said, "Drum, what are you doing with the cheek?" "I'm angry. Why are you meddling in the factory's affairs? Didn't you tell me to do it? How could it be possible to produce such a large order without a deposit?" Zhang Xiaoyan said dissatisfiedly. "I also don't think it's appropriate," Wei Yandan said. "Oh, they're all friends. If you have money, you don't make a bastard. Don't worry, don't get angry, don't get angry." Lu Feng freed one hand and rubbed her little head. "Oh, you," Zhang Xiaoyan was embarrassed by him and said, "I'm not a child, Mr. Wei is still here." "It's okay, you two will treat me as I'm not here," Wei Yandan said with a smile. "I can close my eyes." The high-speed text hand typed back to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 366. Back at home, Zhang Xiaoyan was still a little worried, but Lu Feng comforted her and told her to wash up. "Wash up later, call Duo first. I'm really busy during this time, and the children can't take care of it." Zhang Xiaoyan hurriedly sat down and called home, mumbling not to sleep. There, no one answered the phone. When the phone was picked up, Zhang Xiaoyan heard a lot of calls from the other end of the phone, and she burst into tears. Lu Feng already knew what she looked like, and handed the paper in her hand. The mother is worried when the child travels thousands of miles, and the mother is not worried when she travels thousands of miles. This saying has been true since ancient times. I don't miss her a little bit more. People are a tyrant in the village. Rich. It is popular in the village to play glass balls. She buys hundreds of them as soon as she buys them. She brings a bunch of children and eats popsicles casually. At the same time, she catches chickens and drives dogs in the village. Lu Feng smirked while listening to his mother-in-law complaining about the many evil deeds on the phone. "Yan'er, is Lu Feng by your side?" Lu Feng hurriedly waved to Zhang Xiaoyan. He's upstairs. Has your stomach moved recently?" "No, I'm going crazy. I'm in the factory every day, so I don't have time to go to the hospital." "Mom tell you, I calculated with your dad, Lu Feng got you this factory with bad intentions. He just wants to see if you have the ability. If you can't have children, and you can't make money, then the next step just mess with you." "Mom, what are you talking about? Lu Feng is very nice to me." Lu Feng sat aside and sneered, "With such a mother-in-law, why not? The family business is prosperous. Whose rich wife went out to open a factory? Don't take that factory too seriously. How much is that thing worth?" "Xiao Hong came back and told me that all these assets can be transferred to your name." "Really? No, you can let him transfer all the money to your name, so that he won't dare to look for it outside. He said that the company is now heavily in debt, and it is all operated with debt." "You don't understand this," Zhang Xiaoyan said a little irritably. "You're stupid, so what does he believe? I've never heard that husband and wife are birds of the same forest, and they are separated from each other when disaster is imminent. Such a big company owes money to people? How is it possible? I don't believe this. Xiaohong has made it by himself now. Passbook, I have saved a lot of money. You. Oh, it's all right, this old lady doesn't teach anything, so hang up. Zhang Xiaoyan hung up the phone. Lu Feng thought for a moment and said, should you replace the actual controller of the company with you? Zhang Xiaoyan turned her head and slapped him with her fist, and said angrily, what are you doing? Make me pay hundreds of millions of dollars in debt? I'm not stupid, I'm smart. Lu Feng looked at her and laughed. But it doesn't seem like these days. Lu Feng's smile gradually solidified, and he said, we've been busy all day and I'm tired, so I slept downstairs. Then I'm sleeping downstairs too. Zhang Xiaoyan stared at him. I'm sleeping on the couch. I'm sleeping on the couch too. Two people can't sleep on the sofa. I'll lie on top of you. Lu Feng sighed deeply, and it could be seen from her determined eyes that there was no escape tonight. After Zhao Yanran came home, after washing up, she opened a bottle of red wine for herself, and sat on the sofa with indescribable happiness. She has been in business for 6 or 7 years, and she has handled all kinds of business, but it is as simple as this one. Trading has never been done. She is already very familiar with the cosmetics industry, and she is thinking about it. After making this money, she will add some more money, buy a few storefronts, and prepare to start her own brand. This is also her business grand plan. Own brand, not willing to do this kind of miscellaneous goods all the time. The next morning, the contract was delivered. It was not a contract signed directly with the customer, but a contract for entrusted production to produce goods worth 1 million yuan within 20 days. After signing the contract, the entire factory ramped up production, recruiting 50 more workers, plus the management, and those who ran the market were approaching 300 employees. This small factory is approaching its limit. Lu Feng has resumed his daily life of cooking and playing at the beach. In the past few days, he started to play sea fishing, bought a set of sea rods, and went out to sea on a cruise ship every day to go fishing at sea. Wei Yandan watched the situation of the factory, and she was very anxious every day, especially when she learned that after this batch of goods was finished, there was no money in the factory's account. What's more, this batch of goods is definitely meat buns beating dogs, there is no return. She wanted to chat with Lu Feng that night, but she never had a chance. During this time, she couldn't find anyone every day, so she could only be anxious. One truckload of goods was pulled out. Seeing that it was the day when the employees were paid, Zhang Xiaoyan put in another 50,000 to 60,000 yuan in wages. As the last truck of goods was pulled away, everyone in the factory was full of excitement. During these 20 days, everyone worked day and night. Zhang Xiaoyan said to Qian Nana, after the payment for the goods comes back, please have a big meal. Thank you, President Zhang, the people at the scene applauded. Call Sister Zhao and ask when the payment will be returned. Zhang Xiaoyan picked up the phone and called Zhao Yanran, and answered the phone. Sister Zhao, the last truck has been taken away, when will the payment be returned? What? Okay, I get it, don't worry, I'll make a call across the ocean in a moment to help you. How many days can I get the money back? Soon, don't worry. The other party just didn't give a letter of approval, which made Zhang Xiaoyan mutter in her heart. In the next few days, there was no order, so she could only go the old way and pick up some scattered orders from the cosmetics city. Zhang Xiaoyan called Zhao Yanran every day for a week, and kept going back and forth. The number of orders has decreased. In order to reduce expenses, only half of the employees can be reduced. The factory is almost at a standstill. There are less than 5,000 yuan left on the account, and the electricity and water bills will be paid immediately. Bankruptcy is just around the corner. Zhao Yanran counted the days. Zhang Xiaoyan must be in great need of money at this time, and she plans to eat 150,000 of this batch of goods worth 1 million. The hottest month has passed, and it is almost the end of August. Lu Feng also put away his fishing rod, and his whole body has been blackened by several shades. In the evening, a table of meals is placed on the table. Lu Feng was lying on the sun lounger at the door with Erlang's legs crossed. Seeing Zhang Xiaoyan getting out of the car, he walked over with an ugly face, and threw the bag in his hand on the table. Not yet. Why is she like this? She pushes every day, and she still gets angry with me today, as if I owe her money. Zhang Xiaoyan angrily took off the sandals on her feet and smashed them on the ground. Yo yo yo, don't get angry, the factory is not good, right? You fish every day. Zhang Xiaoyan was about to cry angrily, walked up to Lu Feng and smashed him a few times with his fist. Isn't it about to stop fishing? You are too simple. You are cooking at home for the past 2 days, and your husband will settle her for you. Okay, Lu Feng looked at her and said with a smile, business, no matter how big or small, is a transaction. There is a cost, even if it is to help you, it is also a favor, and the value of favor cannot be estimated, and it can often be rewarded 100 times or 1,000 times, so people like favors. I'm stupid. You're not stupid, you're pure. Look, I said I'd help you, but you didn't say anything. Lu Feng sat up, leaned back on the chair, and raised his eyebrows. I'm as poor as a ghost now, Zhang Xiaoyan said aggrieved. I quietly saved hundreds of thousands of private money, and I went in. Then you haven't heard a word called a kiss for a daughter, Lu Feng said with a smile. Zhang Xiaoyan was also generous, so he kissed too and asked, is it enough? This is a deposit. I'll take over the job. Lu Feng stood up and said, you go to dinner first, and I'll chat with Wei Yandan. I'll go too, and I'll learn a lesson too. Zhang Xiaoyan followed behind very obediently. She wanted to know what means Lu Feng had. On the way to the villa, Lu Feng kept comforting her. After this incident, she continued to run the factory. Even if she paid tens of thousands of yuan per month, it was not bad. At least she was very good in management. What Wei Yandan did for her, Lu Feng was all on her head, and Zhang Xiaoyan nodded again and again, feeling that she was not so useless and could not do anything. Seeing that she hadn't been knocked down, Lu Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Wei Yandan didn't think it was in vain. Seeing Lu Feng coming, Wei Yandan hurriedly stood up from the sofa and said, Mr. Lu, what's the matter? Have you eaten yet? I've made the meal, let's eat a piece, Lu Feng asked politely. I've already eaten it. It's not appropriate for President Lu to cook. Sit down, don't be too polite. Zhao Yanran hasn't returned the money. I'll call her and ask. Starting from tomorrow, you will be responsible for this matter, Lu Feng said. Me? Wei Yandan was dumbfounded. Now that this matter has developed, he is powerless, and the initiative is entirely on the other side. Don't worry, I said, you can do it, Lu Feng reassured. Oh, okay, I'm afraid my abilities are limited. It's all right. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he picked up the phone and called Zhao Yanran. The other end picked up, and Lu Feng said, Mr. Zhao, I'm Lu Feng, when will the payment be returned? Why are you calling again? The two of you have nothing else to do. I said it all, I will give it, are you bothered to make so many calls in a day? Accurate. What are you talking about? It's not normal for us to urge payment for the goods. After all the goods have been taken away. Let me tell you, I didn't earn you a penny on this list, but instead paid it back. If it wasn't for the sake of a good relationship, I would have asked you for money long ago. They sent people to spot check. Do you know if it is qualified? This batch of goods has been kept in the cold storage for such a long time, and the cold storage fee has exceeded 10,000. It's all produced according to your requirements, why is it not qualified? Do you know that the chemical composition exceeds the standard? Zhao Yanran said angrily. I don't want that batch of goods, you guys will take it back tomorrow, and I will pay me more than 10,000 refrigerated expenses. Knowing the two of you, I am also blind. Oh, Lu Feng smiled and said, is this back? Well done. Your question, what can I do? You asked me to buy your goods. You even offended a big client. If that's the case, let's go and see. Humph, wait and see? What can you do? High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 367. Zhao Yanran hung up the phone, sneered, and looked dismissive, threatening herself. Does he fit too? Now that the boat is done, it is useless for anyone to come, it is already meat on the chopping board, and there is no other choice but to be severely stabbed. Lu Feng looked at the time, it was getting late, he said to Zhang Xiaoyan, go to rest early. Zhang Xiaoyan nodded, stood up and walked towards the door. Lu Feng stood up and asked Wei Yandan to go to bed earlier. Just as he was about to leave, Wei Yandan couldn't help but ask, Mr. Lu, what should we do about this? Wei Yandan is now afraid that Lu Feng will throw this matter directly to her, but she has no choice, let alone her. Whoever comes here can only sigh and sigh when he sees how things have developed to this level. When the time comes, let's bring the goods back and let's sell them ourselves. Didn't I let you contact Zhao Yanran's customers some time ago? Lu Feng thought for a while and said, you can have dinner with those people in the past 2 days. List, we can make a profit, don't let the factory stagnate. Oh, Wei Yandan couldn't react. According to her thoughts, she thought that Lu Feng was relying on some of his personal connections to help Zhang Xiaoyan. A small person like Zhao Yanran was crushed like an ant in front of him. It's hard work, rest early, Lu Feng said and walked out the door. Wei Yandan sat down and wondered how Lu Feng could bring this small factory back to life. Although she was mainly proficient in management, she had also been a market development manager for 2 years. I can't figure it out even if I want to break my head, what can I do now? Early the next morning, Zhang Xiaoyan didn't care about having breakfast, and sat there sighing. Lu Feng took a mouthful of seafood porridge and said, don't sigh, it's a trivial matter. If you want to solve this problem, listen to me first and do it well. Take the first step, and the rest will follow. What's the first step? Fire Qian Nana. There are still a lot of management. Lu Feng paused and said, forget bankruptcy. Wow. Zhang Xiaoyan cried out that she went bankrupt when she started her first business. It's been less than 2 months. This is your way? Make me bankrupt. Seeing her like this, Lu Feng laughed out loud. Asked, you didn't want to do it at first, but now you don't want to go bankrupt. I finally got the energy to be a boss, and I went bankrupt before I could play enough, Zhang Xiaoyan muttered. Do as I said first, especially Qian Nana, you don't need to pay her salary, just leave, Lu Feng said solemnly. Don't be soft-hearted, let Wei Yandan handle this matter. I tell you, this woman has taken a lot of kickbacks, and she should have taken no less than 30,000 yuan in private. Ah! So much corruption. Zhang Xiaoyan's face was full of shock. How did Lu Feng know what she didn't know? What do you think? Let Wei Yandan handle this matter, Lu Feng comforted. It's not a big deal. I'll bear it when the sky is falling. Let's eat. After breakfast, Lu Feng called Wei Yandan over and gave him a few orders. The factory was almost shut down, and when the workers came, they all sat there lazily, and some hid behind the factory to gather in crowds to smoke, and management began to loosen up. After Wei Yandan arrived at the factory, he immediately convened the entire management team. Everyone in the conference room sat there and looked at each other, not knowing why the vice president called for the meeting. When Qian Nana arrived, she saw Wei Yandan sitting in the front seat, and she felt a little stunned. Although it was a small factory, she didn't care much about position and level. But this atmosphere is very wrong. Vice President Wei, are you afraid that you forgot that you are a vice president? I am the only one who notified you of the meeting. Is it your turn to notify me of the meeting? Qian Nana preemptively said. Don't talk about that, it's just one thing to ask everyone to come today. The factory went bankrupt, and you will get your salary and leave in a while. Today is not a salary. In just 2 months, you have burned 2 million. As the management, you should be ashamed. What you did is a piece of shit, and it sounds bad. Just put a few dogs in your position, all of which are better than what you did. Wei Yandan didn't show any sympathy. Who are you calling a dog? A man slammed the table and stood up, glaring angrily, as if he was about to rush up to beat someone in the next second. If you don't want the salary, go ahead, Wei Yandan leaned on the chair and said calmly. In an instant, all the anger of the man was suppressed, and the person next to him pulled him and sat down. Wei Yandan smiled at his aggrieved look. Can't he cure you? Small factories are also enterprises. If you want to go a long way in management, you must stand up and think more from the perspective of an enterprise and improve your ability, instead of partnering with bosses. Otherwise, after going through several enterprises, no one will use you. That's all I have to say. Everyone can do it for themselves and get their own wages. As for Mr. Qian, you have no wages. Why don't I have a salary? I've worked for 27 days this month, and my salary is more than 9,000 yuan. If I don't give it, I won't give it, Qian Nana shouted loudly. I have a financial statement here, which is the money for purchasing raw materials before, and a few invoices for reimbursement of office supplies. Take a look. Wei Yandan pushed the folder in front of him. Qian Nana opened it and glanced at it. Her face was pale, and she was even a little frightened. Zhang is always a good person. I don't want to worry about you. Do I still need a salary? Qian Nana didn't speak. She lowered her head and pondered for a while, then turned around and left. Wei Yandan was the only one left in the management of the factory. Her idea was to let all the workers go, and they didn't do any work when they came, but Lu Feng didn't say that, and it was not easy for her to make decisions on her own. Called Lu Feng and told him that the management had all gone. Lu Feng said a good word, and then continued, next, you can find some news about the capsize of a merchant ship in this nearby sea area, and then find a few small newspapers, which have a relatively deep influence in this area, and post a few in this article. It was reported that the merchant ship capsized and all the goods fell into the nearby waters. Ah, Wei Yandan didn't understand. What does this have to do with cosmetics? Don't ask too much, just do it. I'll do it today, and make up for it with the management. Find someone smarter, Lu Feng ordered. Wei Yandan agreed, hung up the phone, and sat there thinking for a long time, not knowing what it meant. Lu Feng looked at the month card at home. It was almost September. He had been at home for more than 2 months. After finishing this, it was almost time to go back. When the time comes to fill in the previous 80 million, it is time for GFN Electronics to enter the next new development. The news that Huasha Cosmetics fired all the management, within 2 hours, all the factories on this street knew about it. In the past 2 months, this factory has become an internet celebrity on this street, especially the matter of 2 tons of wax oil has become a joke. On the street, small bosses gather in groups of 3 or 5, nibbling on melon seeds and chatting. I've already seen it, it's a matter of time before it goes bankrupt. They are not bankrupt, there are at least 2 tons of wax oil. Ha 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 ha, when I think of this, I want to laugh. Everyone really runs a factory these days. The female boss is very coquettish. She passed by the door of my factory a few days ago. That thing in my house was standing upstairs and her eyes were straight. What's the use of being pretty, who hasn't been young yet? The old lady was still a flower when she was young. The man next to her almost laughed when she heard what she said. She was a schoolgirl and her wife was a joke. Zhang Xiaoyan walked in and out of the street, and was called the most beautiful proprietress behind her back. I don't know how many proprietresses were upset. Zhao Yanran learned that Jian Nana had been fired and that the factory had entered the stage of bankruptcy, and she was even more confident. Don't look at his ruthless words. When the 150,000 acquisition came, wouldn't he just sell it obediently? 2 days later, some people in the cosmetics city began to privately mutter about the recent accident of the merchant ships in the nearby waters. Many containers fell into the sea and how much they were worth. Many people joked that if you go to the sea to fetch containers, and if you salvage any of them, you will make a fortune. Lu Feng still stays at home every day, but he went to the cosmetics city for a walk yesterday. Zhang Xiaoyan is worried every day. Seeing that Lu Feng is still like this, he can't help complaining, "Aren't you helping me? I'm not helping you here. You don't move, stay at home every day, and watch TV dramas. If you don't go bankrupt, school will start soon. I will continue to pick up the children," Zhang Xiaoyan said with a bit of anger. "I can't do anything. It doesn't start until mid-September. Don't worry. It's not like the boss is busy every day. He has to learn how to strategize. I'll help you settle the matter in the past 2 days." Lu Feng he patted her shoulder and comforted, "Don't worry." In the afternoon, Lu Feng called Wei Yandan over. "You take the goods out for a while, then pull them back one by one, reprocess those lipsticks, and ask the master to open a mold in the past 2 days. Dior's name is not engraved on the lipstick, and it is marked with the logo of imported goods. The plastic wrapping lipsticks are all printed in English." Wei Yandan nodded, as if she understood something, but she didn't quite understand it. "Mr. Lu, does this have something to do with the capsize of the merchant ship that was advertised by the small newspapers?" Wei Yandan thought for a while and said, "You want to use the Dior brand and then sell the goods in our hands, right?" "Yes, but it's also not right. You can guess your method. You should do it first and talk about it another day." Lu Feng waved his hand and told her to do it. After paying more than 10,000 yuan for refrigeration, Zhao Yanran handed over the documents in her hand to Wei Yandan, and she had nothing to do with her after that. After getting into the car, Zhao Yanran looked at Wei Yandan who was in the refrigerator to count the goods. She had a triumphant smile on her face and whispered, "Next, it's time to harvest." High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 368. Wei Yandan checked the goods and continued to store the goods here. Next, he needed to pull them back one by one, pull them back for secondary processing, and then store them here. As long as you don't sell it for 1 day, there will be more than 400 yuan in storage costs every day. These are all money. Back in the office, Zhao Yanran made a phone call and went out again. After a while in a restaurant, a man in his 40s sat opposite. "What's the matter? Are you still calling this?" the man said. "Didn't I tell you a few days ago, help me with something, you can scan the tail for me in a few days, the price doesn't need to be too high, first give 100,000 yuan, if it doesn't work, give me 150,000 yuan," Zhao Yanran ordered. "What kind of stuff? It's so expensive," the man said in surprise. 1 million in stock. Even if it's $1 million item, it's a bit expensive. It's a cost, not a defective product. You can make a profit, you know. Don't worry, I see that you are about to make another windfall." The man took a bite of the dish and asked, "Is that the fool who bought 2 tons of wax oil? Who else could it be? Let me tell you, As soon as the news of the 2 tons of wax oil came out, I knew you were going to make it. You can run into this kind of injustice that you have never met in 1,000 years, and you are also in the lead. The two looked at each other, clinked glasses, and said nothing. After a few days of silence, the factory was busy again. The new management was very disciplined, and Zhang Xiaoyan suddenly found that she was no longer busy. The management was busy with all the things she was busy with before. In the evening, Wei Yandan drove Zhang Xiaoyan back to the door of the villa and saw Lu Feng doing push UPS on the floor at the door. He's always so laid back, Zhang Xiaoyan muttered and got out of the car, feeling that she was always worried about her life. Wei Yandan didn't think so. Instead, he thought that Lu Feng's state was attention to control everything. When he was able to control everything, he would have a lot of free time, because he knew what to do when, and everything could be done with ease. Come back, Lu Feng got up and wiped his sweat. The meal is ready, sweet and sour pork ribs, steamed crab, and a turbot. We processed 2 truckloads of goods today, and there was more than 10,000 storage fees, and I didn't earn a penny. Okay, seeing her pouting, Lu Feng hurriedly pushed her back and said, let's eat, Mr. Wei, come in and have a bite. While eating, Zhang Xiaoyan said angrily about how Zhao Yanran was, and called Zhao Yanran in the afternoon. The two quarreled and kept blaming herself for being blind at the dinner table. Mr. Lu, those lipsticks are expected to be processed within 5 days, what should we do next? Wei Yandan thought for a while, and then said, are we going to publicize this batch of lipsticks? They were salvaged, and after some hype, it caused looting. Effect, sell it. It's very common to be in the market. Lu Feng commented on Wei Yandan's ability in the market, took a bite of the turbot and said, the effect of this level of marketing and planning is absolutely mediocre. Because what you think about, others think about it, there is no shortage of smart people these days, there are too many. Wei Yandan was a little nervous when she heard Lu Feng's comment, and hurriedly said, I don't know much about the market, I am more in management, and I have also been in charge of market development for 2 years. Do you know anything about antiques? Lu Feng asked casually. Antique, Wei Yandan shook his head and said, I have never touched these things, they are very expensive. Have you ever wondered why it's so expensive? Because of scarcity. Scarcity? How good is it to go to a museum and see how precious it is? Are these things a buyer's market or a seller's market? Lu Feng asked rhetorically. It should be a buyer's market, the one with the higher price wins. For example, for an antique auction, 3 people like it, and these 3 people are the most competitive bidders, so can these 3 people reach a gentleman's agreement in private, they were going to spend 10 million to buy it, and the 3 people negotiated a price, 5 million, take it down first, watch it together, research it together, and then auction it again within the 3 people, so that, after making friends, you can cherish what you want for a while. Wei Yandan thought for a while, then nodded and said, indeed, but the first condition is that the 3 of you know each other. No need to know, there is magic between rich people, and they will attract each other. Antiques themselves do not generate value, but more of historical and cultural heritage. There is a saying called golden antiques in troubled times. Why can they be in today's situation? Tens of millions of dollars have been auctioned, and there is demand for the market. Lu Feng put down his chopsticks, spat out a fishbone from his mouth, looked at Wei Yandan and said, which market? Wei Yandan couldn't turn her head around, she smiled awkwardly and said, I don't quite understand. There is no market for antiques, but there is a market for the price of antiques. A bottle will sell you 100,000 yuan. Would you buy it? You definitely won't buy it. If you ask an expert to interpret the bottle, and then find an auction house, in this, do you think it's worth 100,000 yuan after going around the operating agency and selling it for 100,000 yuan? Wei Yandan nodded. So, Antiques are not valuable, but it is very valuable to make antiques valuable. Why is this valuable? Because there is a market around the corner, a market you can't see, money laundering, Lu Feng said with a smile. Wei Yandan understands a little, but she doesn't fully understand. Does this have something to do with the lipstick market? What did you say? Going around, Zhang Xiaoyan was already listening with question marks on her face. Look, there is no market, and a market is just created. The antique model is actually a kind of marketing. There is no demand to create demand. Even if it is a self-entertainment market, as long as the bubble is big enough, there will always be fools rushing into it. There is always a fool to take over. Lu Feng leaned on the chair and said, if there is no fool to take over, blow the foam bigger. Wei Yandan's eyes lit up when she heard it, and her eyes changed when she looked at Lu Feng. This was really wonderful, and she couldn't help but say, Mr. Lu, you mean to price antiques in this market, right? Right. The shock in Wei Yandan's heart is unparalleled. Before she held a meeting with the marketing department, several vice presidents boasted how good Zhu Lidong is in market development, especially some of the marketing methods are very brilliant. At that time, Mr. Zhang said that Zhu Lidong was a piece of shit, and his tricks were not enough for Mr. Lu. If there must be a marketing genius in this world, she would only admit Lu Feng. The scene was embarrassing for a while. Zhang Fengxia was the president, and it was difficult for those present to refute it, but everyone knew in their hearts that Lu Feng could not be better than Zhu Lidong because he specialized in surgery. But now Wei Yandan believes without hesitation that Lu Feng is stronger than Zhu Lidong. What about tomorrow? Wei Yandan asked. Let's process the lipstick first, then rent a counter to sell it, and then find a few nurseries to create a false impression of market demand. Lu Feng lit a cigarette and said, when this batch is sold out, I will go back to the company. Well, I should go back too. Okay. After Wei Yandan left, Zhang Xiaoyan looked at him and said, what did you just say? It's nothing, take a shower and sleep. Go to bed at this time. It's good to rest early, it will help with pregnancy, Lu Feng said with a smile. The next morning, it was business as usual in the factory. Batches of goods were processed again, the Dior logo was engraved on the lipstick stick, and English was printed on the plastic wrapping paper. At 10 o'clock in the morning, a Honda car stopped at the entrance of the factory, and a man in his 40s walked down, wearing a loose suit and carrying a leather bag in his hand, and glanced at the sign at the entrance of the factory. He walked to the door and tapped the door with his hand. Is there anyone? Open the door. The uncle of the concierge opened the window and stuck his head out. Yo, there's a doorman, go tell your bosses, and say that the god of wealth is here, come out to meet him. The man's face was extremely arrogant, he casually put the bag under his arm, and took out a bag from his pocket. China lighted one. Which god of wealth? Just say, I'm here to buy you, bring money, buy your goods, or you can open the door and let me in. The man took a cigarette and said, I tell you, if you put the boss's business has been delayed, and he can probably beat you to the streets from here. The uncle didn't see him as an ordinary person. The small factory didn't have so many rules, so he opened the door and let him in. He pointed to a row of old houses on the left and said, that's the office. The man took 8 character steps, walked over with arrogance on his face, glanced at someone in the general manager's office, and pushed open the door with his hand. Who are you? Wei Yandan looked at this man and wondered, don't you know if you came in and knocked on the door? The man ignored her and sat on the sofa to himself, putting his purse aside and smoking a cigarette with Erlang's legs crossed. I advise you to be more polite to me, or else I will leave in a while, and you have to kneel down and beg me not to leave, the man said arrogantly. Who are you? I heard that you have a batch of end products. I've been collecting the end products of lipsticks recently. I'm very interested in the batch in your hands. I heard that there are still a lot of them. Well, I can give you this number, the man put out a fist. Oh, I see. Wei Yandan reacted and said, it seems you are right, I can't let you go. I said it all, pay attention to your words, I am also a happy person, I will give you the highest price, 100,000 yuan. Wei Yandan sneered, I won't let you go, you're going too slowly, I have to let you get out of here, who told you that I have leftovers? We don't have leftovers. What? The price can be negotiated. Well, 130,000. I'll take a look at the goods. If it doesn't work, I can still raise it a bit more. I told you to get out, didn't you hear me? Wei Yandan stood up and went out the door, calling a few 5 and 3 rough workers toward the office next to him, and said solemnly, help him get out. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 369. The man was kicked out and looked disheveled. He stood at the door and slapped his suit. He was very angry and shouted, what are you arrogant about? Are you kicking people out? Let me tell you, when you come to me next time, this price will not be available. It's not so easy to talk, give you some time to reflect on it. An hour later, the man stood in front of Zhao Yanran's desk. Zhao Yanran watched him return empty-handed and said in surprise, what? They don't sell it? It was very arrogant. I ran fast, or I would be beaten. By the way, the machinery in the factory was buzzing. I took a look outside and seemed to be busy. How is that possible? Zhao Yanran was confused. If this batch of goods was not sold, it would cost hundreds of yuan per day for the use of refrigeration. Did they find someone to take over? This is also not realistic. This is 1,000,000 goods, and there are very few people who can swallow such a large batch of goods in one bite. Cosmetics is a retail industry. Generally, it is a few thousand yuan, or even a few hundred yuan. When it is sold out, you can buy it again, which makes Zhao Yanran a little confused. Then please make a trip, and wait a few days to see. Zhao Yanran stood up and kept muttering, it shouldn't be, how could this be? The lipsticks are being processed one by one, and the news about the capsize has been spreading in the cosmetics city these days. There are so many merchants, and there is no shortage of clever people. Some people have already started to produce lipsticks that were fished out of the sea. People want it. Several manufacturers have not made a joke yet, what a loophole. In the morning, Lu Feng did not cook. Instead, he went to the cosmetics city and wandered around all morning. He arrived at the factory at noon and had a meal with Zhang Xiaoyan and Wei Yandan. How many days will it take to finish processing? Lu Feng asked. It will take 3 or 4 days. Don't wait so long, just start working in the afternoon, hire some people, and start a wave, Lu Feng ordered. It is good. Zhang Xiaoyan had only half understood it yesterday, but today I want to take a closer look at what they did. In the afternoon, Wei Yandan went to Cosmetics City to rent a temporary counter, and the brand he typed out was Authentic Dior lipstick sticks. The freight merchant ship capsized and the goods were processed in a centralized manner, guaranteeing the authenticity. As soon as the brand came out, many people laughed, and there was another one who was witty. Don't waste your time. Many people have done this. That's right. Yesterday, I saw a few wholesale counters, claiming that a container was salvaged from the bottom of the sea. If you want to get it real. If I sell it, I'll sprinkle some salt on it. At least it smells like the sea. Ha 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 ha, you are even more talented, you have noticed such details. The surrounding merchants chatted happily, and the atmosphere was harmonious. Zhao Yanran shuttled between her several counters as usual to check the post. When passing this road, she walked over, and then stopped abruptly. She seemed to see Zhang Xiaoyan. Taking a few steps back, he tilted his head and looked at a sign that said Authentic Dior lipstick sticks. Zhang Xiaoyan stood beside the sign and chatted with two women. Zhao Yanran walked over and said in surprise, "Oh, isn't this President Zhang? What a coincidence." Zhang Xiaoyan turned her head and saw that it was Zhao Yanran. Her face turned cold, and she ignored her. "Don't take it to heart, I didn't know it would turn out like this. I wanted to help you at the beginning, but the client couldn't do it, so I couldn't do anything about it. I've been worrying about you for the past 2 days, so I found a dealer. I went to find you. How did you get out?" Zhao Yanran probed. "We sell it ourselves." Wei Yandan was busy at the counter, and when she saw Zhao Yanran approaching, she hurried out. She knew that Zhang Xiaoyan was no match for this woman. "You still have a face? Aren't you afraid that someone will swell your cheeks?" Wei Yandan said unceremoniously. Zhao Yanran heard that they were planning to sell the goods on their own through the news that the merchant ship capsized. She sneered and felt that these people were naive. Even if they were able to sell it, the others would definitely swarm them. Their 1 million goods would probably be sold next year. Seeing this situation, Zhao Yanran is no longer worried. In 10 days and a half months, she will be able to get the goods for 10,000 or 20,000 yuan. Just as he was about to leave, a young woman of 27 or 8 came over, dressed in fashion, looked at Zhang Xiaoyan's counter and asked, "Do you really have Dior's lipstick sticks?" "Yes, didn't a merchant ship capsize a few days ago? Let me tell you, one of the containers is lipstick, which is definitely licensed." Wei Yandan took the girl to the counter. Someone at the counter opposite coaxed, "Girl's eyes are wide open. If you can't find a shark in the lipstick, it's fake." "How could there be sharks? That sea is full of squid." "Ha ha ha ha." Zhang Xiaoyan, Wei Yandan, and a few salespeople who were selling goods surrounded the girl and explained, and at the same time took out the lipstick. The girl glanced and nodded, as if satisfied. "Yes, it looks authentic. It has an imported logo and a Dior logo. This incision is very particular." Zhao Yanran leaned forward. She had studied lipstick very deeply. At a glance, she could tell that this was the previous batch, but it was processed again, and the mark was printed, and the plastic wrapping paper was printed on it. There is a bunch of English, and there is also an imported English logo at the incision. "What's the unit price?" the girl asked. "This one is the latest in autumn. If you put on the gold powder shell, the counter price is 99. Of course, this is a lipstick stick, and it has been soaked in water. It is 10 yuan. $10. What about stealing money?" The girl also shook her head. "Too expensive. The quantity I want is quite large, and I can't go to the counter. I have to consider my cost. 8 yuan, if possible, give me 5,000 yuan. Wei Yandan looked at Zhang Xiaoyan, gave her a look, and said, "Mr. Zhang, this is up to you." Zhang Xiaoyan sighed awkwardly. Her acting skills were a bit exaggerated, and she pondered for a while and said, "Okay, once you're familiar with it, you should be a friend. I'll also open an account. I'll open a list for you first." The people next to them looked at it and muttered, "This is sold?" In the afternoon, 5 or 6 people came and sold 40,000 yuan of goods. This business is really simple, and many people who watched it were muttering in their hearts. On the second day, more people came to buy the goods. In the morning alone, 90,000 yuan was sold. This sales speed directly fried the pot, and many people who saw it began to be jealous. However, more people feel that there is a problem with this. The sales are too good, and it is too simple. In the afternoon, someone started to make the exact same brand and started to sell Dior lipsticks that were fished out of the sea. Some people came to ask, but when they came to see the goods, they shook their heads, saying that his goods were not right. The people in Cosmetics City are quick to act, and within an hour, they produced a lipstick with the same Dior Peugeot printed on it. I found a few translation agencies, but they were only responsible for translation, and they didn't understand the anti-counterfeiting labels very well about what was written on this imported cosmetic. This time, a lot of people are worried, but there are still smart people who buy a lipstick from Huasha and copy it when they come back. Zhang Xiaoyan is not a fool either. He directly refused to anyone who came to buy a few hundred pieces of goods, with a minimum of 5,000 pieces, and finally sold 15,000 pieces of goods. In the evening, Zhang Xiaoyan returned home to see Lu Feng and said happily, "We sold the goods for 15,000 yuan. We originally cost 2 yuan, and the terminal retail price was only 7 yuan. In the end, the wholesale price was directly used. Sold for 8 bucks. Who bought it?" Lu Feng wondered. "It should be a merchant in the cosmetics city. We have already attracted a lot of people's attention. Many people in the mall have played the same banner, and more people are imitating them," Wei Yandan said. Lu Feng frowned slightly and said, "Tomorrow, I will buy the 15,000 goods for 30,000 yuan. Ah! The price of 30,000 yuan, Zhang Xiaoyan was a little dumbfounded. She finally sold it? How could she buy it back with money? She opened her mouth and said, "They're trying to study the English on the plastic paper on the outside. It's useless to buy it back. They all copied it. That's why we have to buy them back. The things printed on our machines have their own small marks, so that we can see that we have exclusive things, otherwise it will be flooded in the future." Lu Feng pondered for a while and said, "Let's start building momentum, create a bigger market and create someone who will take it at a higher price." "I see." The next day, some young girls began to appear in the mall. These girls have vicious eyes, have a unique ability to distinguish luxury goods, and they are all very good looking. Chat with the merchants here and say that they play high-end luxury goods, that is, they sell to the rich. They have their own channels, and they want to sell them well. None of the products produced by these small factories have been sold, but they have been bought from Huasha, but they have all been sold, which makes many people murmur in their hearts, they have not made any fakes, and they are completely based on a "why can't you sell it if you make it?" For a time, Zhang Xiaoyan's counter was very popular, and she could sell hundreds of thousands of goods every day. How could such a crazy shipping capacity not make people jealous? Everyone here is paying attention to some local fashion magazines, and there is a lot of news in them. However, the recent limelight is that I heard that the cosmetics city is going to open in the north. And it's a brand store. As soon as this news came out, some people began to be tempted. They all knew that Huasha was fake. Dior's lipstick sticks are enough to be fake. If you get the counter of the brand city in the north, and then get the counterfeiting technology of Huasha, you will definitely get rich overnight. The matter of the northern brand cosmetics city is something that some magazines have vaguely mentioned, but it has been reported in the cosmetic city for several years. According to the above, you need to have a certain amount of funds, and you need to have a large number of goods as a guarantee. After going there, you will take the route of brand wholesale. Zhao Yanran goes to Huasha's counter every day for a walk, watching from a distance. Now that her food is no longer fragrant, she is no longer fragrant. I just don't understand, if this person is lucky, how can he really make a fortune? Now the matter of fishing containers from the sea has become a marketing selling point for the entire cosmetics city. No matter what cosmetics it is, if you don't fish from the sea, you will be embarrassed to sell it. Zhao Yanran flipped through the magazine in front of her, suddenly slapped her thigh, and said to herself, "I will have a lot of luck this year, and I will do a lot of work. Huasha will definitely not sell me the counterfeiting technology, but I can buy the goods directly, and I will be lucky when the time comes. Go to the North Cosmetics City to sell." Not only Zhao Yanran thinks so, many people think this is a business opportunity to get rich, but they don't know that they have already joined the internet. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 370. The news of the northern cosmetics city is buzzing, many people are watching secretly, and some people are preparing in private. Fake brands have been done for a long time, but the store can't be opened. At present, most of the luxury stores in China are fake, which is why many people go to Hong Kong to buy things. Not to mention how much money, at least buy a genuine one. In just a few days, a large number of Dior lipstick sticks have been fished out of the wholesale sea, and basically every counter has them. The best seller is Huaxia Cosmetics Factory. Many people play like this. They buy 5,000 yuan of goods from Zhangxiaoyan, add 10,000 yuan of their own goods, and then raise the price to take out. The fake market has not only circulated in the cosmetics city, but has begun to appear in the market, forming a chain reaction, and these products have begun to appear in some terminal markets. However, most of the market is still supported by Lu Feng alone. From the production end to the end, this process has poor information and layers of stockpiling. Zhao Yanran thought about it for 2 days and decided to stock up on a batch of goods. After several days, Dior in the terminal market made money from the sea, and the price had gone crazy. This is probably the first time that the domestic lipstick market has been fired. Those who think about how to stock up and think that they are waiting for the price increase will never dream of it. This situation is caused by Lu Feng's wife's business being scammed, and a batch of goods has been sold. Not going. 2 days later, the latest news in the cosmetics city, the retail price of Dior lipstick sticks sold for 150 yuan, and the market was extremely out of stock. Many people pulled the goods to the north overnight, and some people were bragging about tens of millions this time. The vacancy in the market may lead to an earthquake in the cosmetics industry, such as the entry of major international brands into China. The news is flying around, and no one knows which sentence is true and which is false. This pool of water is muddy. Lu Feng arrived at the factory and walked around. The factory has been busy these days. Last night, someone came in over the wall, trying to make a drill. The factories on this street are jealous. How's it going? Lu Feng entered the office. The sofa was a little old, and there were several New Year pictures hanging opposite the ground. Yeah, Wei Yandan nodded again and again. She looked at Lu Feng with little stars in her eyes. This young man was in control of everything without a sound. She believed that if the factory was in his hands, it would be within 2 seconds of his hands. In 2010, there will be a big company in the cosmetics ranks. Mr. Lu, I just don't understand why they are so enthusiastic about helping us spread the word. Now not only the cosmetics city, but also the retail side is being stimulated, and some people actually buy it. Is this world short of fools? The world is short of pure fools, but there is never a shortage of fools who think they are smart. Everyone involved thinks they are in control of this matter, but they are all leaks. If you understand this truth, then you will understand the domestic stock market. Lu Feng picked up the thermos on the ground and poured himself a glass. He sat down and said, let's start releasing the goods tomorrow. After the million goods have been sold, help her secure a few orders. It's time to go back to work. Okay, Wei Yandan's heart was excited. She was really tired in the past 3 months, but she carried it all over. She felt that Lu Feng was very satisfied with her. A new position awaits her. The next day, all repurchases were suspended. It was previously announced that the production capacity was limited, but there were too many buyers, and all customers were limited. Today, all the restrictions on orders are cancelled. For a while, many people flocked to it, and some people even fought in front of the counter of Huaxia Cosmetics. This is not a rush for goods, but a rush for money. Whoever grabs the goods can sell it at a starting price. Everyone here believes that, let alone getting the goods, as long as they get the order, they can sell it with a 20% price increase. The madness given by the market in the past 2 days stimulated everyone's nerves, making them too late to think. In the morning, 70% of the lipstick sticks that cost less than 3 yuan were sold at the price of 8 yuan. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the inventory of 1 million was sold out, and the sales amounted to 2.87 million. 6th, set the largest single-day sales of cosmetics since its establishment. It took Zhang Xiaoyan almost 3 months to lose all the money, and Lu Feng only took a few days to turn a loss into a profit. Seeing the mountains of money piled up, Zhang Xiaoyan sat there in a daze. "Mr. Zhang, the bank's car will come in a while, and someone will escort it. Don't worry." Wei Yandan thought that Zhang Xiaoyan was afraid that there would be a problem with so much money, or that someone might be robbed. "I'm not worried about this, I'm thinking that I can't do anything but be a housewife." "No, it's your first time to start a business. You've made great progress in the past 3 months. From the beginning, you had to work on your own to replace screws on the assembly line. Now you have learned management. You didn't interview a lot of people the day before yesterday. The performance is quite good," Wei Yandan praised. "What's good?" Zhang Xiaoyan lowered her head in disappointment, clasped her fingers and said, "I've worked for so long and lost so much money, and he made it back in a few days." "Mr. Zhang, you can't compare with him," Wei Yandan crouched down and said with a smile, "it's the first time I've seen a person like President Lu. He's a natural business genius. You think, if you are like that too, is it too unfair for ordinary people like us?" Zhang Xiaoyan thought for a moment, then smiled and said, "Yes. Besides, you have been very successful. For women, the most important thing is to get married. When it comes to marriage, you are in the top 10 in the country. Also, you have done a very good job. It's been a few years, isn't it better than President Lu?" Zhang Xiaoyan thought about it for a while, and felt that she was right. No one is born with it, except for a strange species like Lu Feng. As long as she learns slowly, she will get better one day. The cash truck has arrived, and there are quite a few banknotes of nearly 3 million. They are packed in 3 large boxes and carried out. There are people watching along the way. A woman in her 30s walked over, followed by 2 little girls in 23 or 4, still teaching. "I tell you, buy cosmetics here, you can find all kinds of finds, better than those cosmetics. Stores are cheap." "I know, Sister Wu. What are you doing over there?" "There are so many people." Sister Wu walked towards the side and asked the person next to her, "What is this doing? It's so lively. It sold 3 million in less than a day, and the bank sent a car to pick it up. I was so mad." "That's not it, when will I have such a day?" "Let me ask, where can I sell or lipstick sticks from the sea?" Sister Wu asked. I have it. After a while, Sister Wu was dragged away by several families, and the 2 little girls next to her hurriedly followed. "Sister Wu, can we go to Mr. Hao's dinner?" "What are you going to go to?" "I really thought you could go to school if you have a little beauty. Let's learn more. Go to my training class and learn a little bit. I have a lot of big bosses in my hands." Zhang Xiaoyan deposited the money in the account, and immediately called home at the bank to tell Lu Feng how much money he made, and all the goods were swept away. "Okay, then let's celebrate tonight. I've booked you a ticket for tomorrow. You can pick up Duo," Lu Feng said happily. "Okay, let's have a drink." Zhang Xiaoyan's face was filled with joy. Although this factory was not long, she really poured her hard work into it. Seeing the factory come back to life, she was still quite emotional. In the evening, in the Western restaurant, a red candle was beating with flames, and the gentle light of the fire illuminated her face, adding a bit of hazy to Zhang Xiaoyan. Wei Yandan took the initiative to lift the glass and joked, "I don't think I should come to this meal. Don't say that, you've worked hard during this time, I'll give you a toast, Lu Feng said as he lifted his glass. Don't dare, I respect Mr. Lu and wish you all the best of luck and harmony. Sister Dan has been really busy recently. Not only does she have to be busy with the factory, but she also has to manage the counter. You can always contact me when you have time. Zhang Xiaoyan picked up her glass and asked, when are you going back? We're leaving tomorrow, and we'll book a ticket with you to pick up Duo, Lu Feng said. The smile on Zhang Xiaoyan's face is frozen. The past 3 months have been too fast, and he is used to cooking at home every day. When he gets home, he can see his days. From tomorrow, he will enter his life again. Let's go tomorrow. Zhang Xiaoyan's voice was extraordinarily monotonous, and she was silent for a while. What's the hurry, it's a few days away. It's quite sudden. Lu Feng could feel her low mood. He sighed and put down the wine glass and said, I've been here for so long, the company is still in the stage of construction and growth, and I can't leave for too long. Mr. Lu, otherwise, I'll go back first. Is there anything I need to communicate with you? Wei Yandan suggested. Zhang Xiaoyan didn't speak, just stared at him. The flame of the red candle jumped a few times, and the wind was blowing, and the flame swayed from side to side. Instantly, the light on the scene was unstable, and everyone's faces flickered. It's not bad these few days, just come back a lot and have a meal together, Lu Feng softened. Zhang Xiaoyan's face only had a bit of joy. She didn't want to be greeted by a cold house when she came back. In one day, a large number of shipments were shipped, and the repurchase was over. The next day, a real world was placed in front of everyone. The buyer who was going to compete for the supply of goods was surrounded by 7 or 8 people as soon as they came in, and they all said that they were in stock. There were not too many people who came to buy goods in the morning, but there were many people who supplied goods, and some people sold them smoothly, but compared with the situation where they came to buy goods a few days ago, they took the initiative to ask at the counter, or even made a deposit directly. The contrast is like pouring a basin of cold water directly. Some people have noticed that something is not right, and smart people have stopped waiting at the counter, trying to find a way to quietly reduce the price, and then push the goods out first. And the fool is still sitting there waiting for the appreciation. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 371. Before Zhang Xiaoyan left, she still hoped that Lu Feng would go back with him. After all, many people in the family wanted to see him, but Lu Feng didn't want to go back. For some experiences, once is enough. Zhang Xiaoyan also understood his embarrassment, and did not force it. He went back alone, and Wei Yandan also successfully completed the task and returned to the company. Staying at home alone, watching TV, flipping through newspapers, the days are a bit lonely. The sudden rise of Viputa is a subversion for domestic brands, and it is also a challenge for foreign investment. This challenge is not entirely from GFN Electronics, but brought about by the continuous breakthrough of domestic technology. Challenge. In the terminal market, the two sides are rapidly approaching. Due to tariff issues, the price has become a burden for foreign brands. TV players such as Samsung, Sony, and Sharp, as well as second-rate TV brands such as Philips and Motorola, have encountered such problems and lack competitiveness. The heads of these brands in Greater China have reported the situation in the mainland in the first half of the year, and formed a strategic report and submitted it. Almost every report mentions the company GFN Electronics. They noticed last year that the TV industry in mainland China has begun to rise. The original market assessment was to approach foreign brands within 5 years. However, the emergence of GFN Electronics seems to have accelerated this matter. If Lu Feng reads these strategic reports, he will put a grievance on his head. What is he? In this magnificent era, there are too few things that can be shaken. Even without him, this 5-year assessment would be outrageously wrong. These companies look down on people, especially domestic private entrepreneurs. Lu Feng was shaped by the times, never shaped the times. He doesn't have that ability, and the background of the era is not something a businessman can shape or dare to shape. These companies feel a little nervous. They are very aware of what will happen in healthy competition between companies, which will accelerate their R/U0026D capabilities, improve product quality and core technologies. In the past 2 months, many companies have been spying on the situation of GFN Electronics more or less. There are 2 paths in front of them. One is to invest in shares, expand operations, help themselves produce domestically, get rid of tariffs, and increase market competitiveness. Not only have to compete with domestic TV sets, but also with those foreign-funded enterprises. The other one, acquisition, directly buys all the enterprises, helps oneself and develops the brand of Wiputa. It's just that the acquisition is expensive, and the other party will definitely ask for a huge price. After talking back and forth for a year or 2, the daylily got cold. The best plan is to buy shares. These companies don't want to spend too much money. Therefore, a few days ago, 7 financial institutions at home and abroad collectively did something to value GFN Electronics. When Zhang Fengxia first heard the news, she wondered why so many financial institutions were suddenly interested in GFN Electronics. You must know that GFN Electronics is now a well-known enterprise in the province at best, but it is more popular in the industry. That's all. The title he got from Huang Youwei was the leading enterprise in Suzhou. City-level leading enterprises are worthless. The lipstick bubble is easy to build, and it is easy to be punctured. In just 2 days, the lipstick has been unsaleable, and there is no market at all. The terminal retails dozens of yuan, and the price of hundreds of yuan is instantly returned to its original shape. There was no sales at all. Many people denounced Huasha Cosmetics, and some even smashed the counter and wanted to return it. How many little girls who sold goods at the counter had experienced such a thing, and left first under the protection of security and police? Call your boss now. Let him handle this. Zhao Yanran looked extremely excited, holding a stool leg in her hand, banging on the table and shouting, "This is a scam, it's a scam, and we will call the police. That's right, it must be returned. I called our boss, I'm just a seller, it's useless to tell me this." An older girl barely calmed down and hurriedly went to the phone booth downstairs to make a call. Lu Feng was lying on the sofa and flipping through the newspaper. He was wondering whether the market for small household appliances was bigger or the market for entertainment electronics was bigger when the phone rang. "What's wrong?" "Come back tomorrow," Lu Feng answered the phone and asked, thinking it was Zhang Xiaoyan. "Boss, come quickly. Our counter was smashed, and many people were clamoring to return the goods. We were almost beaten. If you do, pay us wages and we will quit. Then you should get off work first and tell them not to return it." "That's all," Lu Feng said casually. He had expected this situation. "It's easy to buy, and you can also return it. The return location is in Antarctica. Let's find it." They are surrounded by a crowd. There are security guards and policemen. "We can't leave if you don't come." The little girl's voice was trembling. "What should I do if I get a job and get beaten up and down?" Lu Feng didn't want to worry about it, but after thinking about it, these people embarrassed a few salesmen and sighed, "Okay, I'll be there in a while." Half an hour later, I drove the car to the downstairs of the cosmetics city. Before going upstairs, someone watched Lu Feng and muttered, "His wife didn't come. You don't know the situation on the 3rd floor. His wife will definitely let those people eat." That's right. It sold 3 million that day, and the bank sent a car to pick it up. That guy is so majestic. Humph, it's only been a few days, the prestige is over. Lu Feng stopped and glanced at these people, then shut up immediately, and Lu Feng didn't want to talk about it. He stepped upstairs. The counter on the third floor was directly opposite the stair entrance of Huaxia Cosmetics, and the third floor was already surrounded by people. On the outer 3 floors, things were scattered all over the place, and there was lipstick on the ground, which was smashed by people and stuck to the soles of shoes. The messed up has nowhere to go. The boss is here, the person in charge is here, let's go. The crowd made way, and Lu Feng saw that the entire corridor was full of people, no one was doing business, and there were a few old ladies sitting not far away eating melon seeds. "Are you the boss of this counter?" a policeman asked. "Yes, I am," Lu Feng nodded. "Return the goods. I tell you, return it to me, you cheat. Return it, it can't be sold at all." The crowd was excited, but Lu Feng seemed very calm. Lu Feng looked around and asked, "Give me a reason to return it." "Can't sell it," a stunned Qing shouted. "Can't sell it," Lu Feng frowned. "This is what you handed it to yourself," and sneered, "If you can't sell it, return it." "What if you sell it? I will share half of the profit. It's all business." "Yes, you can't be so unreasonable." After Lu Feng finished speaking, the man who shouted that he couldn't sell was glared at by everyone, and he hurriedly shrank into the crowd. Zhao Yanran looked at Lu Feng and said, "You always claimed that it was a Dior lipstick that was fished out of the sea. You sell fakes, and we ask for a return. This excuse is very suitable, as long as you take it seriously, it is difficult not to return it." "Yes, we have been deceived by claiming that it is Dior's. We are deceived. Damn it. Return it." Lu Feng looked at Zhao Yanran and smiled, and said, "Mr. Zhao, we meet again." "Yeah, we met again. I didn't see it. You still have some tricks. You are young and your mind is broken," Zhao Yanran said viciously. "It's just a courtesy exchange with each other. I remember that my family sold you the goods. What kind of goods do you want me to return? Or, you took over a batch of second-hand and third-hand goods, and you ask me to return it? As for fakes," Lu Feng paused for a moment, "we sold 3 million products, and I demand that the entire cosmetics city be seized now. If it is found here, there will be an extra lipstick from Dior that was not produced by me. How can I prove that it was me who cheated? You. I sold 3 million worth of goods, and you refunded me 30 million worth of goods. Who am I to talk to, and then you say I'm fake?" Lu Feng sneered and whispered, "Can you tell the difference? If you can tell the difference, I'll give you back." After the police heard this kind of dispute is resolved in private. Lu Feng said a lot, "How can you prove that I have faked? In this cosmetics city, fakes just like him are rampant, and it has long been impossible to tell them apart. There are too many tricks to buy high-quality products and return defective ones." The crowd fell silent, they couldn't answer Lu Feng's question, and couldn't prove it was true. "Return the goods. You can't leave today if you don't retire. I humming smashed my wife into it. You traitor. You can't get out of this door if you return it. Don't scold me as a profiteer," Lu Feng shouted sharply, "I'm so honest and honest in front of you. Instead of questioning whether I'm a profiteer, it's better to ask my own heart, how crazy I was a few days ago, and I want to be ruthless. Let's make a fortune, comrade police. Someone threatens my safety, I ask to go with you." The floor manager of the cosmetics city also came over. It was not a problem to continue like this. Lu Feng gathered a few girls at the counter beside him. "Everyone goes back to their counters. If there is anything, they can complain internally. Don't gather here again, or withdraw from the counter," the floor manager shouted. The word "withdraw the cabinet" made everyone's faces stiff, and they were a little scared. The security guard of the mall went down first, and Lu Feng asked a few girls to follow him, saying that they would pay their wages in a while, and he asked the floor manager if the counter was smashed like this, if he could compensate or something. Let's go. Lu Feng turned his head to prepare. Mr. Lu, walk slowly. Zhao Yanran's face was gloomy and terrifying, and her voice was cold. Let's ride a donkey and read the songbook. We are all doing business in this area. I, Zhao Yanran, have been around for all these years. And it's not for nothing, I have never suffered such a loss. Lu Feng raised his brows, looked back at her, and said, I'll wait, don't make me wait too long. After saying that, he went downstairs. Zhao Yanran invested a lot of money this time, a total of 500,000 yuan. This was her entire profit last year. Once the small factory encountered setbacks, the 500,000 yuan would be enough to overwhelm her. She can't swallow this breath. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list.